Hello and welcome to these Beyond sessions as we explore various plays in various exciting international, global ways in this current lockdown crisis. It's the end of the week. We thought we'd end on a cheerful note as everyone keeps complaining at me that why are we doing another dreadful, terrifying tragedy? We thought we'd end on something a little more cheerful. Today we are reading The Old Wives' Tale by George Peele, who as a writer has such a wonderful catalogue of works in so many different styles and genres that he really is decidedly underrepresented in the modern theatre canon. He would touch upon something like this, which touches on theatre and storytelling, but also is perfectly happy writing something much more bombastic and over the top and flamboyant in a much more historical sense and adventures on sea. And he'd also write civic entertainment, something we've been working on the podcast for the future, and just basically would put his hand to any genre or type of thing. I think hopefully if I've gone terribly wide of the mark, there's at least one person in the room who can tell me how horribly wrong I am on that. Now, this is one of those plays that actually we're down to do for the podcast. So this session is actually even more urgent for us in terms of finding out how this play ticks. So that's really what we want to find out, where the jokes live, if there are jokes, and how it's structured and how it flows, because you may find that it is very logical in its lack of logic or illogical in its logicness. It is genuinely rather fun, and I hope that this fabulous team that we have assembled today will give it their all and their ridiculousness. So going through the company this evening, we have reading Clunch and Eumenides is...
I'm Stephen Longstaffe. I'm a scholar of early modern drama.
And reading Antic, Huanebango and Corebus is...
Hi everyone, my name's Simon Nader and I'm a Hertfordshire-based actor, director and teacher.
And reading Madge, Booby, Sexton and Hostess is...
Hello, my name is Sascha Cooper and I'm a professional actress, dancer, choreographer, director, writer, voiceover artist and all-round general creative holistic performer in the UK in Brighton.
And reading Folic Wiggen and Celanta is...
Liza Graham, actor, singer and Shakespearean text coach in London.
And reading brother number one, Lampriscus, and potentially other things as well that we just agreed that I've just immediately forgotten. I think it was Sacrapant. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes. Hello, this is Lynsey Beauchamp here. I'm an Anglo-American UK-based actor and my camera is off because my broadband connection is being very peculiar tonight.
Indeed, there's a lot of it about. And reading fantastic Churchwarden and again, brother number two, I think we just last minute decided.
Yes. It's Jack Chandler. I'm a professional actor, singer and a voiceover artist in Kent.
And reading Erestus, Friar and Jack is...
Hi, I'm Ruth Evans. I teach English, mainly medieval English literature. And I'm based in St. Louis, Missouri, in the Midwest of America.
And last but not least, joining us in part to help us with the text, but also to play Xantippe and Vernalia, a part I'm really looking forward to your textual interpretation of, is...
Hi, I'm Annalise Connolly. I'm Senior Lecturer in English at Sheffield Hallam University.
Excellent, and that is the team. I, however, am Robert Crighton. I will be reading various Harvestmen voices spectacular. I will attempt to do some sound effects as we go and generally keep the merriment up in the air. I will also read any parts that I've forgotten to distribute in this crazy, crazy old time. Okay, without further ado, we are out in the woods, ladies and gentlemen. If you listen in the background, you might be able to hear strange woodland sounds. None of this is in the script, I should point out. You may be able to hear those sounds as enter Antic, Frolic, and Fantastic.
How now, fellow Frolic? What? All in naught? Doth this sadness become thy madness? What though we have lost our way in the woods, yet never hang the head as though thou hadst no hope to live till tomorrow? For Fantastic and I will warrant thy life tonight for 20 in the 100.
Antic and Fantastic, as I am Frolic, Franny, and never in all my life was I so dead slain. What, to lose our way in the wood, without either fire or candle? So uncomfortable. Oh, Chalum, oh, Terra, oh, Maria, oh, Neptune.
What makes thee it so strange, seeing Cupid hath led our young master to the fair lady, and she is the only saint that he hath sworn to save?
What resteth then but we commit him to his wench, and each of us take up his stand in a tree and sing out our ill fortune to the tune of "Oh, man in desperation."
Desperately spoken, fellow Frolic, in the dark, but seeing it falls out thus, let us rehearse the old proverb. 3 merry men and 3 merry men and 3 merry men be we. I in the wood and thou on the ground, and Jack sleeps in the tree.
Ash, a dog in the wood, or a wooden dog. How comfortable hearing. I had even a leaf the Chamberlain of the White Horse called me up to bed.
Either hath this trotting cur gone out of his circuit, or else we are near some village which should not be far off, for I perceive the glimmering of a glowworm, or a candle, or a cat's eye, my life for a halfpenny.
Enter Clunch, a smith with a lantern and a candle.
In the name of my own father, be thou ox or ass that appearest, tell us what thou art.
What am I? I'm Clunch the Smith. What are you? What make you in my territories at this time of the night?
What do we make, dost thou ask? Why, we make faces for fear, such as if thy mortal eyes could behold, would make thee water the long seams of thy side slops, Smith.
And in faith, sir, unless your hospitality do relieve us, we are like to wander with a sorrowful hey-ho among the owlets and hobgoblins of the forest. Good Vulcan, for Cupid's sake that have cozened us all, befriend us as thou mayest, and command us, howsoever, wheresoever, whensoever, in whatsoever, for ever and ever.
Well, masters, it seems to me you've lost your way in the wood. In consideration whereof, if you will go with Clunch to his cottage, you shall have house room, and a good fire to sit by, though we have no bedding to put you in.
Oh,
bountiful Clunch.
Oh, bountiful Clunch.
For your further entertainment, it shall be as it may be, so and so. Hark! This is Paul, my dog, that bids you all welcome in his own language.
Doggy.
Take heed for stumbling on the threshold. Open door, Madge. Taking guests.
Enter Madge, an old woman.
Welcome, Clunch, and good fellows all that come with my good man. For my good man's sake, come on, sit down. Here is a piece of cheese and a pudding of my own making.
Thanks, Scammer. A good example for the wives of our town.
Gammer, thou and thy good man sit lovingly together. We come to chat, not to eat.
Well, masters, if you will eat nothing, take away. Come, what do we do to pass away the time? Lay a crab in the fire to roast for lamb's wool? What, shall we have a game at trump or rough to drive away the time? How say you?
This Smith leads a life as merry as a king with Madge's wife, Sirrah Frolic. I'm sure thou art not without some round or other. No doubt but Clunch can bear his part.
Else think you me ill brought up, so set to it when you will.
We'll just pause there, especially as trying to get people to sing in unison would be a disaster. And also, I'm not going to be quite so mean as to ask anyone to sing. So if one of the chaps would like to read the text coming up, that would be lovely. Who would like to go for it?
I will.
Lovely.
When as the rye reached to the chin, and chop cherry ripe within, strawberries swimming in the cream, and schoolboys playing in the stream, then oh, my true love said, till that time come again, she could not live a maid.
This sport does well, but methinks, Gamma, a merry winter's tale would drive away the time trimly. Come, I'm sure you are not without a score.
If Gamma, a tale of an hour long were as good as an hour's sleep.
Look ye, Gammer, of the giant and the king's daughter, and I know not what. I have seen the day when I was a little one, you might have drawn me a mile after you with such a discourse.
Well, since you be so unfortunate, my good man shall fill the pot and get him to bed. They that ply their work must keep good hours. One of you go lie with him. He is a clean-skinned man, I tell you, without either spaven or wind gale. So I am content to drive away the time with an old wife's winter's tale.
No better hay in Devonshire. Oh, my word, Gamma, I'll be one of your audience.
And I another, that's flat.
Then must I to bed with the goodman. Bona nox, Gamma. Good night, Frolic.
Come on, my lad. I shall take thy unnatural rest with me.
And exit Antic with Clunch. Just a question for the room. Who here wants to sleep with Clunch?
Everyone!
I'm not even going to comment.
It's just the way I just almost imagine him being enormous and just literally grabbing him and just sort of dragging him into the other room. There wasn't much of a discussion here.
Well, he does have a candle, which is very phallic.
Yeah. And we have got lots of innuendo coming around all over the shop. We've got the song, the O's and never could not live a maid again. It's beautifully sexual. And we've got all sorts of obviously, for as an audio company at this stage, we're very interested in silly sound effects and the potential there. But the language, the ridiculous over-the-topness of the Lost trio, and then Clunch just goes, "Are you lost?"
Why?
Fabulous. Thoughts from the room before we move forward?
It's great fun so far. That's all I can think of.
Funny.
It's great fun.
Good fun.
You know, we think we know what the tone is, don't we?
Yeah.
They are
It's very straightforward, I have to say. You immediately know what you're getting, which is great.
Annalise, I saw you.
well. I think Frolic in particular, when he talks about that there are owlets and hobgoblins, good Vulcan for Cupid's sake, that has cozened us all, and all that. He's kind of, I think he thinks he's a page in maybe a slightly different play, maybe a pastoral play, there's lots of characters from myth, Vulcan. So you've got Vulcan and then you've got Clunch, the two kind of blacksmiths together. So they're trying to elevate their role, aren't they, in this play, to be more than perhaps just these three lost figures in a wood. But then it's kind of getting mingled in with kind of more lowbrow jokes about, going to bed with Clunch, and then the song. So there's kind of lots of different registers going on, I think.
Yeah, and that's
picked up on that.
Yeah, it's a question, because we're about to hear a story, but are we already in the story? We're already in the story, but are we in another story as well? Whose story are we in?
Yeah.
We never learn anything more of there are three servants that have been turned away, but we don't know what status the person was of, their master was of. We don't know what kind of household they come from. Their master has fallen in love and vowed himself to Cupid's service and summarily sacked them, and they're just presumably far from home, and they're just, they have nowhere to go next. So it was very lucky that they ran into a shepherd.
Yes, but oddly, they're not actually interested in eating anything. They're offered all this largesse, and then they go, no, we're not here, we'd rather have a chat. And I'm thinking, how terrible is the food?
Well, partly that must be politeness, right? Clunch wasn't expecting guests. He and Madge probably only have enough for the two of them. And also theatrically, having people sit down and eat and not talk would cause a longueur, surely.
Yes, we're moving very directly on with action. Okay, so Clunch has dragged Antic out of the room. Or possibly not. I don't know. You could have been delighted. We don't know what Clunch looks like. It could be a big strapping chap. So we're about to hear a story, and they're really keen to hear a story. They're all really eager. They know which way their bread is buttered here. So exeunt Antic and the Smith.
Yet this vantage shall we have of them in the morning, to be ready at the sight thereof extempore.
Now this bargain, my masters, must I make with you, that you will say hum and ha to my tale, so shall I know you are awake.
Content, Gammer.
That I will do.
Once upon a time, there was a king, or a lord, or a duke, that had a fair daughter, the fairest that ever was, as white as snow and as red as blood. And once upon a time, his daughter was stolen away, and he sent all his men to seek out his daughter, and he sent so long that he sent all his men out of his land.
Who dressed his dinner then?
Ah, nay, either hear my tale or kiss my tail.
Well said. On with your tale, Gammer.
Oh, Lord, I quite forgot there was a conjurer, and this conjurer could do anything. And he turned himself into a great dragon and carried the king's daughter away in his mouth to a castle that he made of stone. And there he kept her, I know not how long, till at last all the king's men went out so long that her two brothers went to seek her. Oh, I forget. He, I would say, turned a proper young man to a bear in the night, and a man in the day, and keep spy across that parts 3 several ways, and he made his lady run mad. Oh! Speak bones, who comes here?
For here enter 2 brothers.
Soft, Gammer. Here's some come to tell your tale for you.
Let them alone. Let us hear what they will say.
And there we have to pause because we're about to briefly swap some characters around, and I think it's important that we just take a moment to step away from the people telling the story to the people who have interrupted this stage picture. So yes, you're in the middle of a story, and it's coming alive. It's coming alive.
Upon these chalky cliffs of Albion, we are arrived now with tedious toil, and compassing the wide world round about, to seek our sister, seek fair Delia forth, yet cannot we so much as hear of her.
O fortune cruel, cruel and unkind, and unkind, in what we cannot find our sister hapless in her cruel chance. Soft, who have we here?
Enter Erestus at a cross, stooping to gather.
Now, Father God be your speed. What do you gather there?
Hips and haws and sticks and straws and things that I gather on the ground, my son.
Hips and haws and sticks and straws? Why, is that all your food, Father?
Yea, son.
Father, here is all an alms penny for me. And if I speed in that I go for, I will give thee a gown of grey, as ever thou didst wear.
And Father, here is another alms penny for me, and if I speed in my journey, I will give thee a palmer's staff of ivory, and a scallop shell of beaten gold.
Was she fair?
Aye, the fairest for white, and the purest for red, as the blood of the deer or the driven snow.
Then hark well, and mark well my old spell. Be not afraid of every stranger, start not aside at every danger. Things that seem are not the same. Blow a blast at every flame. For when one flame of fire goes out, then come your wishes well about. If any ask who told you this good, say, the white bear of England's wood.
Brother, heard you not what the old man said? Be not afraid of every stranger, stand not aside for every danger. Things that seem are not the same, blow a blast at every flame. If any ask who told you this good, say, the white bear of England's wood.
Well, if this do us any good, we'll fare the white bear of England's wood.
Exeunt the two brothers.
Now sit thee here and tell a heavy tale. Sad in thy mood and sober in thy cheer, here sit thee now and to thyself relate the hard mishap of thy most wretched state. In Thessaly I lived in sweet content, until that fortune wrought my overthrow. For there I wedded was unto a dame that lived in honour, virtue, love, and fame. But Sacrapant, that cursed sorcerer, being besotted with my beauteous love, my dearest love, my true betrothed wife, did seek the means to rid me of my life. But worse than this, he with his chanting spells did turn me straight unto an ugly bear. And when the sun doth settle in the west, then I begin to don my ugly hide. And all the day I sit, as now you see, and speak in riddles, all inspired with rage, seeming an old and miserable man. And yet I am in April of my age.
Enter Venalia, his lady, Mad.
See where Venalia, my betrothed love, runs madding, all enraged about the woods, all by his cursed and enchanting spells.
And she has now exited, and enter Lampriscus with a pot of honey.
But here comes Lampriscus, my discontented neighbour. How now, neighbour? You look toward the ground as well as I. You muse on something.
Neighbour, on nothing but on the matter I so often move to you. If you do anything for charity, help me. If for neighbourhood or brotherhood, help me. Never was one so cumbered as is poor Lampriscus. And to begin, I pray receive this pot of honey to mend your fare.
Thanks, neighbour. Set it down. Honey is always welcome to the bear. And now, neighbour, let me hear the cause of your coming.
I am, as you know, neighbour, a man unmarried, and lived so unquietly with my two wives that I keep every year holy the day wherein I buried them both. The first was on St. Andrew's Day, and the other on St. Luke's.
And now, neighbour, you of this country say your custom is out. But on with your tale, neighbour.
By my first wife, whose tongue wearied me alive and sounded in my ears like the clapper of a great bell, whose talk was a continual torment to all that dwelt by her or lived nigh her, have you heard me say I had a handsome daughter?
True, neighbour.
She it is that afflicts me with her continual clamours and hangs on me like a burr. Poor she is, and proud she is, as poor as a sheep new shorn, and as proud of her hopes as a peacock in her tail well grown.
Well said, Lampriscus. You speak it like an Englishman.
As cursed as a wasp, and as froward as a child new taken from the mother's tit, she is, to my age, as smoke to the eyes, or as vinegar to the teeth.
Holily praised, neighbour. As much for the next.
By my other wife, I had a daughter so hard-favoured, so foul and ill-faced, that I think a grove full of golden trees and the leaves of rubies and diamonds would not be a dowry answerable to her deformity.
Well, neighbour, now you have spoke, hear me speak. Send them to the well for the water of life. There shall they find their fortunes unlooked for. Neighbour, farewell.
Farewell, and 1,000.
Exit Erestus.
And now goeth poor Lampriscus to put in execution this excellent counsel.
And he exits. So just pause here. Now, I don't think it's fair to ask the question of, what's going on at this precise moment in time. But perhaps more a tally of what cliches or stories have we piled together? What have we noticed that seems awfully familiar here? Thoughts in the room, people.
Well, I don't want to mention the person's name that will
Then
herald the duck, but of course, yeah, we've got a really nice. I think that's such a great visual kind of device for audience expectancy. You've built up this daughter who sounds very much like a shrew, of course. I'll say no more. Just some of the
other shrews are available.
Other shrews are available. That's right. So it just what I like. That is just how they managed to build up somebody that sounds like sheer entertainment, which hopefully we'll see later.
We have Sascha.
I love the play within a play. I think you see a lot of plays where it can be really unpredictable and, shall we say, very badly handled at times. But I have to say, this particular version, it's so fairy tale-like and magical that I can almost see it just leaping off the page, and sort of to tie in the whole thing with entertainment. You could almost, if you wanted to, if you were putting this on stage, you could do all sorts of interesting sort of, I hope I'm trying to do it correctly with my hands, but like that sort of dreamlike time sequence where you can see the characters kind of seeping in, everybody watching from the side, back to reality again. It's just so beautifully done. I love it.
Liza.
Yeah, excellent point. And we have not only not quite a play within a play, but also story within story.
Yeah.
That Madge tells a story, the figures in the story come to life and start telling the story, and then Erestus says, now I'm going to tell my story. So the figure in the story is telling his story.
Mm. And Madge is telling a story about a household that gets rid of some servants. So there's the possibility that the story is weaved into its own self, and it's playing so many meta games that I love. And then we have the random gag of just suddenly I've got this here comes my wife. It's such a cheap. It's full of, and I love cheap gags. And when I say cheap gags, that is not a criticism at all. I absolutely love them. And this is packed full of them, as well as carefully structured sort of story gags as well. That the sitting down and telling the story of, oh, my life's so terrible, and these people in my life. I just love that.
There's a cheap gag where Madge says "kiss my tail," and of course,
I was doing that.
But the sexual innuendos there, and the pun on tail, and it's very effective because you kind of don't expect it, but it sets the scene for all kinds of sexual innuendos.
Yeah, I think the "kiss my tail" thing is it turns up in other plays earlier as well. It rings an awful bell. It
does.
Annalise.
I was just wondering about Venelia, whether she's a kind of, you've just been doing Spanish tragedy, whether she's a kind of Isabella figure. So Hieronymo's wife, who kind of runs mad, the kind of, there's a kind of trope there maybe of women, kind of flying across the stage with their hair loose and, doing the mad bit. And you've got that here as well as a kind of, an added extra, just to kind of, like you say, another visual gag.
Play, it's that thing we're looking for any trope that could be spoofed or played with, and this play is going to do it.
Yeah. How many can we add in?
Now, we are doubling up characters here, so the people who are telling the story and are watching the story presumably continue to be watching it and don't necessarily get involved. In this, they're going to be swapping parts a lot. But we've reached the point where we nip back to the people telling and watching the story. And they're sort of... that magic quality is going to come in again here, I think, of, you know, you tell a story and it comes to life.
Oh, yes.
So, Frolic and Madge.
Why, this goes round without a fiddling stick. But do you hear, Gammer, was this the man that was a bear in the night and a man in the day?
Aye, this is he, and this man that came to him was a beggar, and dwelt upon a green. But soft, who come here? Oh, these are the harvestmen. 10 to 1, they sing a song of mowing.
All ye that lovely lovers be, pray you for me. Lo, here we come a-sowing, and sow sweet fruits of love. In your sweet hearts may well it prove. And the stage direction says that the harvestmen sing that twice, but you're only getting it once. Having
Once was
predicted
enough.
correctly that they're 10 to 1, I don't know if anyone places a bet, but I think that would be a good sight gag. Absolutely correctly. They enter and then, like Venalia, immediately bugger off again. However, the action does not stop because enter Huanebango with his two-hand sword and Booby the clown.
Gamma, what is he?
Oh, this is one that's going to the conjurer. Let him alone. Hear what he says.
Now, by Mars and Mercury, Jupiter and Janus, Sol and Saturnus, Venus and Vesta, Pallas and Proserpina, and by the honor of my house, Polymacaropolis, long word, it is a wonder to see what this love will make silly fellows adventure, even in the wane of their wits and infinity of their discretion. Alas, my friend, what fortune calls thee forth to seek thy fortune among brazen gates, enchanted towers, fire and brimstone, thunder and lightning? Beauty, I tell thee, is peerless, and she precious whom thou affectest. Do off these desires, good countryman, good friend, run away from thyself, and so soon as thou canst forget her, whom none must inherit but he that can monsters tame, labours achieve, riddles absolve, loose enchantments, murder magic and kill conjuring. That is the great and mighty Huanebango.
Hark you, sir, hark you. First know I have here the flirting feather, and have given the parish the start with a long stock. Now, sir, if it be more but running through a little lightning and thunder, and riddle me, what's this? I'll have the wrench on the conjurer if he were 10 conjurers.
I have abandoned the court in honourable company to do my devoir against this sore sorcerer and mighty magician. If this lady be so fair as she is said to be, she is mine, Meus mea meum, in contemplum omnium grammaticorum.
Ooh, false Latinum. The fair maid is minim cum paratipindus gribitus and all.
If she be mine, as I assure myself the heavens will do somewhat to reward my worthiness, she shall be allied to none of the meanest gods, but be invested in the most famous stock of Huanebango. Huanebango. That damn word again. Polymacaropolis. Yes! My grandfather, my father, Pergo... I hate you, Robert. Pergo Polyneo. My mother, Dianora de Sardinia, famously descended. Cheers.
Do you hear, sir? Had you not a cousin that was called Gustus Celadius?
Indeed, I had a cousin that sometime followed the court, unfortunately, and his name...
Yes, you're heading to the punchline. It was a long setup. It's
a bit close to the point after my last surgery. Buster Guts Erestus.
Oh! Lord, I know him well. He is the third knight of the Neat's feet.
Oh, he loved no capon better. He hath oftentimes deceived his boy of his dinner. That was his fault. Good Buster Gustus Eredus.
Come, shall we go along?
I'll just briefly pause there before someone comes in. The wordplay here is lovely, and even if you don't know, I love the "O falsum Latinium." So there's a joke that anyone can get, as well as, I presume, a Latin gag that you need to know the Latin to get. Anyone know the Latin? I'm looking at the book now.
There's a lot of Latin here. It's interesting. Maybe a long I would make it would be worth trying. O falsum Latinum, the fair maid is minum.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
That would work very well. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming that the reference to giblets is that's setting her up to be some kind of chicken or farmyard.
Got to be, surely.
Well, we've got a lot of stuff to do with feet and food rather, and Buster Guts and references there as well. So it seems that there's quite a lot of grotesquerie going on here. The fact we're laughing without necessarily 100% getting some of the jokes is great.
It's just because we're so bloody confused and, or should I say confuseded.com, we might as well just large it up a bit, you know.
I do love that Huanebango, talks about himself in the third person, I am, and he does, there's a sort of presentingment there, and, has this famous house, which is ridiculously long and unpronounceable.
He's basically a wrestler. A modern day WWF wrestler.
Well, he's sort of this, this spoof knight figure, isn't he?
Told you he lived in a way.
Liza.
Yes, the braggart Spanish soldier is a classic character in Italian comedy, first of all, and basically in any nation that's ever been at war with Spain, which at this point is most of them. The Spaniard that brags about his prowess and his bravery, and normally they just turn out to be utter weeds when it comes to actual combat. There is, risking the duck, there is another fantastical Spaniard who feels equivocal about being in love, and
that's fine.
Gotta think that Huanebango was an influence.
Yeah, well, only a couple of weeks ago we were doing Thersites, which has these braggart figures there who are both massively ineffectual. No snails, sadly. No magical snails, which is very disappointing. Okay, any additional thoughts?
It's a bit like the pages at the beginning. He seems to know that he's in what kind of character he is, because he talks about, when he's, like you said about him introducing himself, what can he do? He's like a kind of would-be Hercules. The labours achieved, riddles absolved, loose enchantments, murder, magic and kill conjuring. He kind of knows what kind of role he's playing. It's all kind of, that self-awareness about the sort of play that they're in. Seems to come through a bit now with him.
You kind of want to subvert the visual clue there with the double-handed sword about maybe having a very small boy play it as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
He thinks the flirting stick will come in handy.
So anyway, we have the re-entrance of Erestus at the cross now. So we have some interaction with these new characters with a character we've already met. Enter Erestus at the cross.
Soft, here's an old man at the cross. Let us ask him the way thither. Oh, you gaffer! I'll pray you tell where the wise man the conjurer dwells.
Where that earthly goddess keepeth her abode, the commander of my thoughts and fair mistress of my heart.
Fair enough, and far enough from thy fingering, son.
I will follow my fortune after mine own fancy, and do according to mine own discretion.
Yet give something to an old man before you go.
Father, methinks a piece of this cake might serve your turn.
Yea, son.
Huanebango giveth no cakes for alms. Ask of them that give gifts for poor beggars. Fair lady, if thou wert once shrined in this bosom, I would buckler thee. Haratantara!
And he exits with such logic and grace. Booby is left alone.
Father, do you see this man? You little think he'll run a mile or two for such a cake, or pass for a pudding? I'll tell you, Father, he has kept such a begging of me for a piece of this cake. Woo! He comes upon me with a superficial substance and the poison of this earth, but I know not what he means. If he comes to me thus and said, my friend Booby, or so, why, I could spare him a piece with all my heart. But when he tells me how God hath enriched me above all fellows with a cake, why, he makes me blind and deaf at once. Yet, Father, here's a piece of cake for you, as hard as this world goes.
And indeed does give him a piece of cake.
Thanks, son, but list to me. Ye shall be deaf when thou shalt not see. Farewell, my son. Things may so hit that thou mayst have wealth to mend thy wit.
Farewell, Father, farewell, for I must make haste after my two-hand sword that has gone before.
And he exits. And yes, the suggestion there, the two-hand sword has more substance than the master who wields it. And I love the fact that Booby hasn't got a clue what his master's talking about either.
No, just like when he is the dumb character in many respects, or she, if you wanted to play it a female. Sorry, it's just so fun. I love it. It's great fun from an acting perspective. You know, gives you a chance to play all sorts of very weird and wonderful characters, still keeping in the fairy tale element. It's great. I love it.
So we shift to locations now. Enter Sacrapant in his study.
The day is clear, the welkin bright and grey. The lark is merry and records her notes. Each thing rejoiceth underneath the sky, but only I, whom heaven hath in hate, wretched and miserable Sacrapant. In Thessaly was I born and brought up, my mother Mero hight a famous witch, and by her cunning I of her did learn to change and alter shapes of mortal men. There did I turn myself into a dragon, and stole away the daughter to the king, fair Delia, the mistress of my heart, and brought her hither to revive the man that seemeth young and pleasant to behold, and yet is aged, crooked, weak, and numb. Thus by enchanting spells I do deceive those that behold and look upon my face. But well may I bid youthful years adieu.
And I'm just going to pause there because it occurs to me that I have indeed cocked up. I was waiting for it to turn up at some point. I haven't cast a Delia. Nobody's down for that, are they? So I'm going to say, Ruth, if you're good to read Delia, I'll take the Friar away from you because I don't think the Friar is a particularly large part. So if that's good for you.
That sounds good to me, yeah.
Excellent. Delia is a much more interesting part. So enter Delia with a pot in her hand.
See where she comes, from whence my sorrows grow. How now, fair Delia, where have you been?
At the foot of the rock for running water and gathering roots for your dinner, sir.
Ah, Delia, fairer art thou than the running water, yet harder far than steel or adamant.
Will it please you to sit down, sir?
Ay, Delia, sit and ask me what thou wilt. Thou shalt have it brought into thy lap.
Then, I pray you, sir, let me have the best meat from the King of England's table, and the best wine in all France, brought in by the veriest knave in all Spain.
Delia, I am glad to see you so pleasant. Well, sit thee down, spread, table spread, meat, drink, and bread ever may I have, what I ever crave when I am spread. Meat for my black cock, and meat for my red.
Enter a friar with a chine of beef and a pot of wine.
Here, Delia, will you fall to?
Is this the best meat in England?
Yea,
What is it?
a chine of English beef, meat for a king and a king's followers.
Is this the best wine in France?
Yea,
What wine is it?
a cup of neat wine of Orleans that never came near the brewers in England.
Is this the veriest knave in all Spain?
Yea,
What, is he a friar?
yea, a friar indefinite and a knave infinite.
Then, I pray ye, Sir Friar, tell me before you go, which is the most greediest Englishman?
The miserable and most covetous usurer.
Hold thee there, friar.
Exit friar.
But soft, who have we here? Delia, away, begone.
Enter the two brothers.
Delia, away, for beset are we, but heaven or hell shall rescue her from me.
Exeunt Delia and Sacrapant.
Brother, was not that Delia did appear, or was it but her shadow that was here? Brother, art thou there?
Muted. Sorry about that. Sister, where art thou? Delia, come again. He calls that thy of thy absence, doth complain. Call out, Calipha, that she may hear, and cry aloud, for Delia is near.
Near.
Near, oh, where? Hast thou any tidings?
Tidings.
Which way is Delia then? Or that? Or this?
Here.
And may we safely come where Delia is?
Yes.
Brother, remember you were the white bear of England's wood. Start not aside for every danger, be not afeard of every stranger. Things that seem are not the same.
Brother, why do we not then courageously enter?
Then, brother, draw thy sword and follow me.
Enter Sacrapant the Conjurer. It lightens and thunders. The second brother falls down.
What, brother, dost thou fall? Aye, and thou too, Calipha.
The first brother falls down.
Edeste demones.
Enter two furies.
Away with them. Go carry them straight to Sacrapanto's cell, there in despair and torture for to dwell.
Exit furies with the two brothers.
These are Thenanore's sons of Thessaly that come to seek Delia their sister forth. But with a potion I to her have given, my arts have made her to forget herself.
Removes the turf and shows a light in a glass.
See here the thing which doth prolong my life. With this enchantment I do anything, and till this fades, my skill shall still endure, and never none shall break this little glass, but she that's neither wife, widow, nor maid. Then cheer thyself, this is thy destiny, never to die, but by a dead man's hand.
And a exit. I mean, it's lovely that we have this sort of action but it's sort of still mixed with some silliness as well as some dramatic emphasis. With the echo, that isn't a half rhyme or saying silly. It is just the echo just after doing some echoing just goes, yeah. It's like we have this convention of the echo warns you, you've given me nothing to come back with. and that gets done much more seriously in later plays. So, any thoughts about what the sudden drama of Delia and Sacrapant that's been sort of prefigured, but we actually see it here, and it's it's like there's plot happening.
I was very amused by the sort of nationalist stuff about, is this the best meat in England? Is this the best wine in France? And the various knave in Spain. So like having all these kind of digs at other nations, I thought that was good.
Yes, the Spanish one is very pointed, isn't it? Annalise, you were going to say something.
It was the same kind of idea about what's the banquet for, and it seems to be that opportunity for some, kind of anti-Spanish, anti-Catholic, maybe little digs at our neighbours over the water. But I wondered whether the bit with the Friar and the bit with Sacrapant, whether Peele is kind of again a bit like some of the other little tropes that we've talked about. This is the play where it starts to become about a magician, about magic, about the Furies, and raising things up from the dead, maybe. And I wondered whether it is a bit of a nod to other similar plays of the period, like maybe like Dr. Faustus and that. And Peele's kind of not, he's kind of drawing on popular kinds of threads and ideas that the audience would enjoy. That build up to Sacrapant, that we've got this sorcerer, what's he going to be like? And there he is in his study. It's very like the opening to Dr. Faustus. And it's that kind of, I don't know, I think it was that kind of nod to Marlowe's plays and other magician plays of the period.
We do get quite a few popping up that do talk to each other and happy to spoof each other as well. So, and it's also that thing of they're doing a sort of question challenge thing that feels very story timey, very very, and that feels like. Yes, it's a gag mechanism, a joke delivery mechanism, but it also has that sort of storytelling quality to it, which I really like.
We've said several times over the last couple of weeks with some of the plays that we've done readings of, but this one particularly, you can get a visual sense of, say, if it was a touring piece coming to village, and the children looking wide-eyed at some of the spectacle. For instance, to overtly say having a light in a glass, you can just really imagine that kind of drawing in the storytelling.
Yes, the visual, the spectacle, as well as, but even though it still feels very contained, it feels like there has been some very clear work on visual elements that come on. That's a really good point. Okay, we're going to have another alternative knight figure, I think is the way to put this, because after Sacrapant has exited, terrifying wizard that he is, enter Eumenides, the wandering knight, and Erestus once again at the cross.
Tell me just time, when shall I Delia see? When shall I see the lodestar of my life? When shall my wandering course end with her sight? Or I but view my hope, my heart's delight. Father, Godspeed. If you tell fortunes, I pray, good father, tell me mine.
Son, I do see in thy face thy blessed fortune work apace. I do perceive that thou hast wit. Beg of thy fate to govern it. For wisdom governed by advice makes many fortunate and wise. Bestow thy alms, give more than all, till dead men's bones come at thy call. Farewell, my son, dream of no rest, till thou repent that thou didst best.
And exit Erestus the old man.
This man hath left me in a labyrinth. He biddeth me give more than all, till dead men's bones come at thy call. He biddeth me dream of no rest, till I repent that I do best.
And obviously at this point, the most logical thing to do is to lie down and go to sleep, which indeed he does. Enter Wiggen, Corebus, Churchwarden, and Sexton.
You may be ashamed, you horse and scold Sexton and Churchwarden, if you had any shame in those shameless faces of yours, to let a poor man lie so long above ground, unburied. A rot on you all, that have no more compassion of a good fellow when he is gone.
What would you have me? Sorry, what would you have us to bury him, and to answer it ourselves to the parish?
Parish me no parishes. Pay me my fees, and let the rest run on in the quarter's accounts, and put it down for one of your good deeds of God's name, for I am not one that curiously stands upon merits.
You horse and sodden-headed sheep's face, shall a good fellow do less service and more honesty to the parish, and will you not, when he is dead, let him have Christmas burial?
Peace, Corebus, as sure as Jack was Jack, the frolicest Franion amongst ye, and I, Wiggen, his sweet sworn brother. Jack shall have his funerals, or some of them shall lie on God's dear earth for it, that's once.
Wiggen, I hope thou wilt do no more than thou darest answer.
Sir, dare or dare not, more or less, answer or not answer, do this or have this.
Help! Help! Help!
So some physical assault is going on, but luckily Eumenides awakes and comes to them.
Hold thy hands, good fellow.
Can you blame him, sir, if you take Jack's part against this shake-rotten parish that will not bury Jack?
Why, what was that, Jack?
Who? Jack, sir? Who? Our Jack, sir, as good a fellow as ever trod upon neat's leather.
Look you, sir, he gave 69 mourning gowns to the parish when he died, and because he would not make them up a full 100, they would not bury him. Was this not good dealing?
Oh, Lord, sir, how he lies. He was not forth a halfpenny, and drunk out of every penny. And now his fellows, his drunken companions, would have us to bury him at the charge of the parish. And we make many such matches. We may pull down the steeples, sell the bells, and thatch the chancel. He shall lie above ground till he dance a galliard about the churchyard for Stephen Louch.
Sic argument aris, domine Loach. And we make many such matches. We may pull down the steeple, sell the bells, thatch the chancel. In good time, sir, and hang yourself in the bell ropes when you have done. Domine, opponens prepono tibi hanc questionem, whether you will have the ground broken first or your pate broken first. For one of them shall be done presently, and to begin mine, I'll seal it upon your coxcomb.
Hold thy hands, I pray thee, good fellow. Be not too hasty.
You capon's face, we shall have you turned out of the parish one of these days, with never a tatterfoot to your arse. Then you are in worse taking than Jack.
Faith, and he is bad enough. This fellow does but the part of a friend, to seek to bury his friend. How much will bury him?
Faith, about some 16 shillings will bestow him honestly.
Aye, even thereabouts, sir.
Here, hold it then. And I have left me but one poor 3 halfpence. Now do I remember the words the old man spake at the cross. Bestow all thou hast, and this is all, till dead men's bones come at thy call. Here, hold it.
And he gives money.
And so, farewell.
God and all good be with you, sir.
Exit Eumenides.
Nay, you cormorants, I'll bestow 1 peal of Jack on my own proper costs and charges.
You may thank God the Longstaffe and the Bilbo blade crossed not your coxcomb. Well, we'll to the church stile and have a pot. And so,
Exit with Wiggen.
Come, let's go.
Yeah.
Lovely. Yeah, so we have this sudden change of direction. We've got this this story. I know it's not quite accurate, but it's sort of almost Jack and the Beanstalk quality of, you must give all your money. You must buy these magic beans. Quality there.
The whole thing strikes me as somewhat pantomimic.
It is. I think it's actually that's a very good modern way. way of looking at it, actually, for a modern stage, is that, you know, it's playing around with stories in that same sort of way. And we've got this, it's quite a serious discussion about who pays for the burial, in a way. It's a very important point. And they're all saying, well, he was a good-hearted soul. No, he wasn't. He was a drunken lout and he did nothing. And then, you know, they're even trying to, there's a sense of, are they trying to con out the money that he gives? You know, that they don't even use that on the burial, that it's just, oh, yeah, this was mine. It didn't come from him. Absolutely. I don't know if that's overselling that. Thoughts about that?
Well,
yeah, Liza.
This seems to be a situation in which a lot of poorer working folk might have found themselves often having a family member or a friend to bury and not being able to come up with the money, and having them undergo the ignominy of being buried in the mass grave in the potter's field, and having the parish refuse to bury them. And yeah, it's interesting. And again, we see the fairy tale logic that we saw also with Huanebango and Booby and the piece of cake, that in fairy tales, if you want anything good to come to you, you have to give, and sometimes you have to give everything.
And it's, even though it's almost certainly doesn't mean it that way when they're talking about the Christmas burial, sounds like it's supposed to be saying Christian. But I think if we're doing it modern day, I think if we want to make it a Christmas show, I feel that's a little routine. I like that. Any additional thoughts before we crack on?
I wonder whether there's some anti-Catholicism in the whole paying for a burial and so on, and that this is kind of being overturned and joked about, you know, a real dig at that, particularly with the Latin, which, you know, sic argumentaris and so on, which makes it sound as if there's that kind of dig.
I think so. I think there's definitely something there about that kind of, there's still a kind of hangover, even though this is, you know, 1580s, 1590s, there's still that kind of Reformation feeling that perhaps one of the things that we were trying to get away from was that sort of corruption around, you know, paying for things, paying for, you know, relics, paying for different things, in the way in which that became, you know, the church became corrupt because of that sort of exchange of money for those sorts of things. So,
it's a it's a very extreme reaction, isn't it? You know, if we pay for this one man's funeral and do a service for the parish, then the whole church will fall up. There'll be no roof on the church. The whole institution will fall down. And sort of going, yeah, it's the cart before the horse, isn't it?
Just a bit.
Yeah. Okay, so we've everybody's exited, except of course our storytellers and story watchers, who are still there to guide us back into this narrative. So everyone swaps back to being fantastic, Madge and Frolic.
But hark you, Gamma, methinks this Jack bore a great sway in the parish.
Oh, this Jack was a marvellous fellow. He was but a poor man, but was very well beloved. You shall see anon what this Jack will come to.
Enter the harvest men, singing with the inevitability of the Fraser Hayes 4, with women in their hands.
Soft, who have we here? Our amorous harvesters.
Aye, aye. Let us sit still and let them alone.
Lo, here we come, a-reaping, to reap a harvest fruit. And thus we pass the year so long, and never be we mute. Which again, they sing twice, and of course the harvest fruit that they're carrying is of course the women that they're taking. We suspect they might be being a bit lusty there. Exit the harvest men, enter Huanebango.
Soft, who have we here?
Oh, this is a choleric gentleman. All you that love your lives, keep out of the smell of his two-hand sword. Now goes he to the conjurer.
Methinks the conjurer should put the fool into a juggling box.
Fee fa fum, here is the Englishman. Conquer him that can. Come for his lady bright, to prove himself a knight, and win her love in fight.
Enter Booby the clown.
Oh, ho, Master Bango! Are you here? Here, you! You'd best sit down here and beg an alms with me.
Hence, Miss Culiang! Here you see that commandeth ingress and egress with his weapon. And don't know what's happening with the accent. And will enter at his voluntarily, whatsoever saith no.
A voice and flame of fire, and Huanebango falls down. No!
So with that they kissed, and spoiled the edge as of a good two-hand sword as ever God put life in. Now goes Booby in, spite of the conjurer.
Enter Sacrapant the conjurer and two furies.
Away with him into the open fields to be a ravening prey to crows and kites.
Huanebango is carried out by the two furies.
And for this villain, let him wander up and down in naught but darkness and eternal night.
Striking Booby blind.
Here hast thou slain one, a slashing knight, and robbed poor Booby of his sight.
Hence, villain, hence.
Exit Booby.
Now I have unto Delia given a potion of forgetfulness, that when she comes, she shall not know her brothers. Lo, where they labour, like to country slaves with spade and mattock on this enchanted ground. Now will I call her by another name, for never shall she know herself again, until that Sacrapant hath breathed his last. See where she comes.
Enter Delia.
Come hither, Delia, take this gold. Here, hard at hand, two slaves do work and dig for gold. Gore them with this, and thou shalt have enough.
He gives her a goad.
But, sir, I know not what you mean.
She hath forgotten to be Delia, but not forgot the same she should forget. But I will change her name. Fair Berecynthia, so this country calls you. Go ply these strangers, wench, they dig for gold.
Exit Sacrapant.
Oh, heavens! How am I beholding to this fair young man? But I must ply these strangers to their work, see where they come.
Enter the two brothers in their shirts with spades, digging.
Oh, brother, see where Delia is.
You're mute, Jack, you're mute.
Oh, so sorry. Delia, happy are we to see thee here.
What tell you me of Delia, prating swains? I know no Delia, nor know I what you mean. Ply you your work, or else you're like to smart.
Why, Delia, knowst thou not thy brothers here? We come from Thessaly to seek thee forth, and thou deceiv'st thyself, for thou art Delia.
Yet more of Delia? Then take this and smart.
And pricks them with the goad.
What? Feign you shifts for to defer your labour? Work, villains, work. It is for gold you dig.
Peace, brother, peace. This vile enchanter hath ravished Delia of her senses clean, and she forgets that she is Delia.
Leave, cruel thou, to hurt the miserable. Dig, brother, dig, for she is hard as steel.
Here they dig, and descry a light in a glees under a little hill.
Stay, brother. What hast thou descried?
Away, and touch it not. 'Tis something that my lord hath hidden there.
Oh, she covers it again. Re-enter Sacrapant.
Well said, thou ply Estes pioneers well. Go get you in, you labouring slaves.
And exit the two brothers.
Come, There is Cynthia, let us in likewise, and hear the nightingale record her notes.
And they exit. Enter Xanthippe, the cursed daughter, to the well with a pot in her hand.
Now for a husband, house and home. God send a good one or none, I pray God. My father has sent me to the well for the water of life, and tells me if I give fair words I shall have a husband. But here comes Celanta, my sweet sister. I'll stand by and hear what she says.
And she retires. Enter Celanta, the foul wench, to the well for water with a pot in her hand.
My father hath sent me to the well for water, and he tells me if I speak fair I shall have a husband, and none of the worst. Well, though I am black, I am sure all the world will not forsake me, and, as the old proverb says, though I am black, I am not the devil.
Marry, Gup, with a murrain. I know wherefore thou speakest, but go thy ways home as wise as thou camest, or I'll set thee home with a wannion.
Here she strikes her pitcher against her sisters and breaks them both and goes her way.
I think this be the cursedest queen in the world. You see what she is, a little fair, but as proud as the devil, and the veriest vixen that lives upon God's earth. Well, I'll let her alone and go home and get another pitcher, and for all this, get me to the well for water.
So we're getting lots of characters who have sort of been mentioned in passing, and they're all pulling together. I think we should clarify the question of "though I am black, I am not the devil" thing. I'm assuming that's to do with being just covered in dirt and unclean. Is that what that's referencing to, or is it more depressing than that? Sascha is waving.
Yeah, I would say it's mostly dirt, but I would also say it's more symbolic of her really base and crass kind of attitude as well. So I think it's a double function going on here.
Might it also be that she's just got black hair or a dark complexion, as opposed to the fair sister, and that what we've got here is some kind of symbolism, like in Hollywood films, like the blonde woman is always good and the dark-haired woman is always some kind of vixen.
Yeah, that's good. Liza.
Yeah, it's ambiguous. Often in this era, to call someone black, sometimes it meant that they simply had black hair. Like if you called someone fair, it meant they were blonde often. But there were actual black people living in England at this time. Queen Elizabeth famously said that there were too many. Too bad for her, because she couldn't get them to leave. England was a multicultural nation. We've been told that one daughter is fair but cursed, and the other, we haven't been told what her personality is, but we've been told that she's ugly. So we will see what the personalities of these two daughters are.
And it's interesting that they've both got different mothers. They're two different wives, so that really opens that up as a possibility.
Yeah.
But we don't have an absolute answer, though. That's opened up that question. Any other thoughts about anyone finding that they're actually confused? I'm actually surprised how clearly I'm following the various narrative threads, because they're not actually very complicated, even if they're muddled. I seem to be following everything quite well. Anyone lost? I mean, it's not like there's a logical plot where it matters. It's, stuff's happening. Simon?
No, I was just saying drifting in and out.
Yeah.
I just come in on the black and the black point. I've got a critical edition here, and it's proverbial. Though I'm black, I'm not the devil. And they quote a Robert Greene pamphlet saying, "I'm black, I'm not the devil, but indeed a collier."
Oh.
So it's something people would been used to hearing.
Yeah. So yeah, we've got all the things there, the possibilities. I do like the idea of the blonde in the film noir sort of trope. There is quite an interesting one. I think that's a. I don't know if that would work or not. But anyway, the story continues. We're not done with these particular people, because of course you've got to remember that all sorts of other action is going on, and though Celanta has exited, enter two furies out of the conjurer's cell, and lays Huanebango by the well of life. Enter Xantippe with a pitcher to the well.
Once again for a husband, and in faith, Celanta, I have got the start of you. Belike husbands grow by the well side. Now my father says I must rule my tongue. Why, alas, what am I then? A woman without a tongue is as a soldier without his weapon. But I'll have my water and be gone.
Here she offers to dip her pitcher in, and a head speaks in the well. Gently dip, but not too deep. For fear you make the golden beard to weep. Fair maiden, white and red, stroke me smooth and comb my head, and thou shalt have some cockle bread.
What is this? White and red, comb me smooth and stroke my head, and thou shalt have some cockle bread. Cockle thou callest it, thou boy? Faith, I'll give you cockle bread.
And she breaks her pitcher upon the head. Good for her. Then it thunders and lightens, and Huanebango rises up. Huanebango is deaf and cannot hear.
Filida, Fileridos, Pamphilida, Florida, Flotos, dub bounce. Quoth the guns with sulphurous huff snuff. Waked with a wench, pretty Pete, pretty love, and my sweet pretty Pixini. Just by thy side shall sit surnamed great Huanebango. Safe in my arms will I keep thee. Threat Mars or thunder Olympus.
What a greasy groom have we here. He looks as though he crept out the backside of the well and speaks like a drum perished at the West End.
Oh, that I might! But I may not. Woe to my destiny, therefore. Kiss that I clasp. But I cannot. Tell me, my destiny, wherefore?
Ooh, now I have my dream. Did you never hear so? Greater wonder is this. 3 blue beans in a blue bladder, rattle.
I'll now set my countenance unto her in prose. It may be this rim-ram riff is too rude an encounter. Let me, fair lady, if you be at leisure, revel with your sweetness, and rail upon that cowardly conjurer that has cast me, or congealed me, rather, into an unkind sleep and polluted my carcass.
Laugh, Xantippe, laugh. Thou hast to have fortune, a fool, and a husband under one.
Truly, sweetheart, as I seem about some 20 years, the very April of mine age.
Why, what is a prating ass is this?
Her coral lips, her crimson chin, her silver teeth so white within, her golden locks, her rolling eye, her pretty parts, let them go by. Hi-ho, have wounded me that I must die this day to see.
By Gog's bones, thou art a flouting knave, her coral lips, her crimson chin, Wilshaw.
True, mine own, and my own because mine, and mine because mine, ha-ha! Above 1,000 pounds in possibility, and things fitting thy desire in possession.
The sotman I ask of his lands. Lob, be your comfort, and cuckold be your destiny. Hear you, sir, and if you will have us, you had best say so betime.
True, sweetheart, and will royalize thy progeny with my pedigree.
Oh God, some great innuendos in there. It's just that sort of the weirdness of a head coming out of the well.
I knew it.
Just and they're just going. I'm not making that too modern, am I? In my thinking here, it seems very clearly.
Sorry, I'm just going to say something here. I need to get this off my chest. This is so carry on. It is so carry on.
Oh,
it's
right.
Barbara Windsor. It's Barbara Windsor. I really want to say this is a Barbara Windsor and Kenneth Williams sketch, or should I say St. James? Oh, see?
I'll give you cockle bread.
Yeah, I'll give you cockle bread, love. Oh!
And then,
Sorry.
Yeah. And Huanebango just doing that sort of mock poetry, but then also just the turning it around. You did it so well. Her pretty parts. Let them go by.
Yeah, just there they go. There they go.
This is a family show. We can't go any further than that.
Oh, what a shame.
Kind of urban digs at rural pursuits, and like the amorous, harvestman, and the whole like head in a well, like those kind of folklore, popular folklore motifs. And everything is up for grabs. It's great.
Yes,
yeah,
Simon.
Sorry, Robert. I just like how he can be completely off his face and deaf and disorientated, and yet still can try and pick up a woman. How very Mediterranean.
Yeah, or you could go one stage further and say that the deafness was put on, so to speak. I don't know. There's every single way you could go with this.
Well, we have giant heads elsewhere as well. So the question of the size of the head and prop there in other plays. So, the question of which play wanted to make the head first that made other plays decide to put it in. And it's as it were. Because we have giant talking heads elsewhere, so this feels like this is
available.
Yeah, this has been written in because they had it in the store.
Yeah.
Well, the heads in the well was a pretty well-known fairy tale.
Oh yeah.
I know it was. Yes. I'm sorry, my head has just gone. I've gone into gutter territory. Sorry.
I think, to be fair, the play's heading centres this way. We're not out of context here. Okay, let's pull it back. Let's pull it back. Okay, we're going to have the entrance of a new character meeting an old, and we're going to have a new relationship building here. So enter Eumenides, the Wandering Knight.
Wretched Eumenides, still unfortunate, envied by fortune and forlorn by fate, here pine and die, wretched Eumenides, die in the spring, the April of my age. Here, sit thee down, repent what thou hast done. I would to God that it were ne'er begun.
And enter the Ghost of Jack.
You are well overtaken, sir.
Who's that?
You are heartily well met, sir.
Forbear, I say. Who is that which pincheth me?
Trusting in God, good master Eumenides, that you are in so good health as all your friends were at the making hereof. God give you good morrow, sir. Lack you not a neat, handsome and cleanly young lad, about the age of 15 or 16 years, that can run by your horse, and for a need make your mastership's shoes as black as ink? How say you, sir?
Alas, pretty lad, I know not how to keep myself, much less a servant. My pretty boy, my state is so bad.
Content yourself. You shall not be so ill a master, but I'll be as bad a servant. Tut, sir, I know you, though you know not me. Are you not the man, sir, deny it if you can, sir, that came from a strange place in the land of Catita, where jackanapes flies with his tail in his mouth, to seek out a lady as white as snow and as red as blood? Ha, ha! Have I touched you now?
I think this boy be a spirit. How knowest thou all this?
Tut! Are you not the man, sir, deny it if you can, sir, that gave all the money you had to the burying of a poor man, and but 1 3/2 left in your purse? Content you, sir. I'll serve you, that is flat.
Well, my lad, since thou art so importunate, I'm content to entertain thee, not as a servant, but a co-partner in my journey. But whither shall we go? For I've not any money more than one bare 3 halfpence.
Well, master, content yourself. For if my divination be not out, thou shalt be spent at the next inn or alehouse we come to. For, master, I know you are passing hungry. Therefore I'll go before and provide dinner until that you come. No doubt but you'll come fair and softly after.
I go before, I'll follow thee.
But do you hear, master? Do you know my name?
No, I promise thee, not yet.
Why, I am Jack.
Exit the ghost of Jack.
Jack? Why, be it so then.
Enter the hostess and Jack setting meat on the table, and fiddlers come to play. I've got none on hand. Eumenides walks up and down and will eat no meat.
How say you, sir? Do you please to sit down?
Hostess, I thank you. I have no great stomach.
Pray, sir, what is the reason your master is so strange? Doth not this meat please him?
Yes, hostess, but it is my master's fashion to pay before he eats. Therefore a reckoning, good hostess.
Marry, shall you, sir, presently?
Exit hostess.
Why, Jack, what dost thou mean? Thou knowest not I have not any money. Therefore, sweet Jack, tell me what I should do.
Well, master, look in your purse.
Faith, it is a folly, for I have no money.
Why, look you, master, do so much for me.
That, Jack, my purse is full of money.
Alas, master, does that word belong to this accident? Why, methinks I should have seen you cast away your cloak and in a bravado danced a galliard round about the chamber. Why, master, your man can teach you more wit than this.
Re-enter the hostess.
Come, hostess, cheer up my master.
You are heartily welcome, and if it please you to eat of a fat capon, a fairer bird, a finer bird, a sweeter bird, a crisper bird, a neater bird, your worship never eat of.
Thanks, my fine eloquent hostess.
But hear you, master, one word by the way. Are you content I shall be halves in all you get in your journey?
I am, Jack. Here is my hand.
Enough, master. I ask no more.
Come, hostess, receive your money, and I thank you for my good entertainment.
Gives money.
Ah, you are heartily welcome, sir.
Come, Jack, whither go we now?
Marry, master, to the conjurer's presently.
Content, Jack. Hostess, farewell.
And they exit. It's all a little ghostly and supernatural, lovely little magical things. It's interesting, the white as snow, red as blood. Is that even today? And isn't that in Into the Woods?
It is, and it also is the reminiscent of the original Snow White tale as well. If we hark back to the original Brothers Grimm version, there's a description in there, isn't there? Skin as white as snow, lips as red as blood, that kind of thing. So that has that wonderful connotation right there too.
So it's lasted all the way down to us, which is lovely. Makes it easier to stage. Any additional thoughts about Jack, Ghost Jack? I mean, I loved the way, Stephen, you did that of realising, was that the bloke from the grave there? That was really nice. Or as a question, I don't think he can be too certain about it, I suppose. But I really like that.
I really like that as well. The gratitude of the dead for having a proper. Well, you could see the kind of obviously the intention in here, but the gratitude of having a Christian burial, I assume, is what's going on, being put down in a grave rather than in a mass grave, as you said. But I actually really like the fact that Jack's ghost is like, thanks, that was awesome.
Yeah,
that's lovely. It's actually really nice.
He is the Grateful Dead.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. I'll pay for your food. I'll pay for your drinks. What a great way. Bury you, mate. Get around. Brilliant.
Yeah. Okay, we are returning to the Well of Life, I think, as enter Corebus and Celanta, the foul wench, to the well for water.
Come, me duck, come. I have now got a wife. Thou art fair, art thou not?
Who's Celanta?
My Corebus, the fairest alive, make no doubt of that.
Come, wench. Are we almost at the well?
Aye, Corebus, we are almost at the well now. I'll go fetch some water. Sit down while I dip my pitcher in.
A head comes up again. Oh, God. And with ears of corn, and she combs them in her lap. Gently dip, but not too deep, for fear you make the golden beard to weep. Fair maiden, white and red, comb me smooth and stroke my head, and thou shalt have some cockle bread. And a second head comes out, we're full of gold. Anyone want to jump in and be a second head? Go for it.
Gently dip, but not too deep, for fear thou make the golden beard to weep. Fair maid, white and red, comb me smooth and stroke my head, and every hair a sheaf shall be, and every sheaf a golden tree.
Oh, see, Corebus, I have combed a great deal of gold into me lap, and a great deal of corn.
Well said, wench. Now we shall have just enough. God send us coiners to coin our gold. But come, should we go home, sweetheart?
Nay, come, Corebus, I will lead you.
So, Corebus, things have well hit. Thou hast gotten wealth to mend thy wit.
Okay, so is it how obscene is this? Just you know, is it she's jollily working the head and golden coins are flying out? I mean, this could be positively filthy.
You're saying gently dip, but not too deep. I mean, if you want to go that far.
Just the tip.
Thou shalt have some cock or bread.
Yeah.
Lots of cock.
Okay. It's the fact that it comes with actions. That's what's getting me. Is that, you know, it's that this could be really absolutely grotesque.
Well, I'm surprised.
What if you think of the
gold being saying pearls instead?
I think away the sheaf of corn as well before it's stripped. I mean, you could go nuts with that really visually, couldn't you?
Liza, your hand is up.
Well, as Two Live Crew said, I think we're as nasty as we want to be here. But there is one thing I wanted to flag up, which is a character note, which is about Corebus and Booby.
Yes.
Because I don't know if this is Corebus from the burial scene. I think this is Booby, who was going around with Huanebango, and who was struck blind when Huanebango was struck deaf.
Ah, that might be my error then.
Oh.
Because,
I should have changed that if that was the case. So let me just have a little look, because that could be my bad. Because it's a point. There is the problem with the name of Booby, is that he's down in the script as Corebus, and that there are two characters who are definitely distinct.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this might be my error. So I will just have a little look in this edition and see where we are. Yeah, it should be Booby. You're absolutely right. That's good.
Oh,
good
it is
call.
Booby. Right.
It should be Booby. I have to say, I was thinking that myself, and I was thinking I should have corrected that. And so that does make an awful lot of sense.
It does, and it's a happy ending because the deaf man has married the beautiful sister who's a scold, but he can't hear her, so that's fine. And the blind man has married the ugly sister, who it turns out is actually kind of a good person, or at least good at stroking heads.
It's a very different type of morality play we have today.
Well, the thing is, obviously, of course, the thing is, if he's blind, then of course all the stuff that she's doing with the head is becomes a sort of cuckoldry thing because he can't see it. So it's even more of a joke. So yes, apologies for that. It's useful because it's the kind of correction I need to make for the scripts for rehearsals and performance. So it's part of the point of doing it this way. So thank you for pointing that one out. That is fab. Yeah, the scene gets worse now, in a sense, as well as better. What's your wife doing behind your back while you're blind? Yeah, you don't want to know, mate. You don't want to know.
Hey,
she's
she's
going down to the
burning
well.
gold.
Hmm?
I'm not even going to ask.
Yeah. Okay,
Take
let's
the
finish
gold and
this.
shut up.
Yeah, let's stop now and move forward. I really didn't realise it was quite as potentially obscene as this.
Of course you did.
I knew it was a bit rude, but I didn't quite appreciate quite how extreme this goes. Okay,
Bit
wonderful.
of blue for the grown-ups.
Yes.
This
Okay,
is
let's
definitely an adult fairy tale.
Let's rattle to the end. Let's rattle to the end. Okay, enter Jack and Eumenides, the Wandering Knight.
Come away, master, come.
Go along, Jack, follow thee. Jack, they say it is good to go cross-legged and say prayers backward. How sayest thou?
Tut, never fear, master. Let me alone. Here, sit you still. Speak not a word, and because you shall not be enticed with his enchanting speeches, with this same wool stop your ears. And so, master, sit still, for I must to the conjurer.
Exits the ghost of Jack. Enter Sacrapant, the conjurer, to the Wandering Knight.
How now, what man art thou that sits so sad? Why dost thou gaze upon these stately trees without the leave and will of Sacrapant? What, not a word but mum? Then, Sacrapant, thou art betrayed.
Enter the ghost of Jack, invisible, and take Sacrapant's wreath from his head and his sword out of his hand.
What hand invades the head of Sacrapant? What hateful fury doth envy my happy state? Then, Sacrapant, these are thy latest days. Alas, my veins are numbed, my sinews shrink, my blood is pierced, my breath fleeting away, and now my timeless date is come to end. He in whose life his acts hath been so foul, now in his death to hell descends his soul.
And he dies.
Oh, sir, are you gone? Now I hope we shall have some other coil. Now, master, how like you this? The conjurer, he is dead, and vows never to trouble us more. Now get you to your fair lady, and see what you can do with her. Alas, he heareth me not all this while, but I will help that.
And he pulls the wool out of his ears.
How now, Jack? What news?
Here, master, take this sword, and dig with it at the foot of this hill.
So he gives the sword, and he digs, and he spies a light.
How now, Jack? What is this?
Master, without this the conjurer could do nothing. And so long as this light lasts, so long doth this art endure. And this being out, then doth his art decay.
Why then, Jack, I will soon put out this light.
Aye, master, how?
With the stone, I'll break the glass and then blow it out.
No, master, you may as soon break the smith's anvil as this little phial. For the biggest blast that ever Boreas blew cannot blow out this little light, but she that is neither maid, wife, nor widow. Master, wind this horn and see what will happen.
Didn't prepare a horn, oh well. That'll do. He gets horn. He winds the horn. Wins the horn, rather. Here enters Vernalia and breaks the glass and blows out the light and goeth in again.
So, master, how like you this? This is she that ran madding in the woods, his betrothed love that keeps the cross. And now, this light being out, all are restored to their former liberty. And now, master, to the lady that you have so long looked for.
He draweth the curtain, and there, with awkward doublings, Delia sitteth asleep.
Godspeed, fair maid, sitting alone. There is once. Godspeed, fair maid. There is twice. Godspeed, fair maid. That is thrice.
Not so, good sir, for you are by. Enough, master, she hath spoke. Now I will leave her with you.
And he exits.
Thou fairest flower of these western parts, whose beauty so reflecteth in my sight as doth a crystal mirror in the sun, for thy sweet sake I have crossed the frozen Rhine. Leaving fair Po, I sailed up Danube as far as Saba, whose enhancing streams cut twixt the Tartars and the Russians. These have I crossed for thee, fair Delia. Then grant me that which I have sued for long.
Thou gentle knight, whose fortune is so good to find me out and set my brothers free, my faith, my heart, my hand I give to thee.
Thanks, gentle madam. But here comes Jack. Thank him, for he is the best friend that we have.
Enter the ghost of Jack, heaven help us, with a head in his hand.
Oh, now, Jack, what hast thou there?
Marry, master, the head of the conjurer.
Why, Jack, that is impossible. He was a young man.
Ah, master, so he deceived them that beheld him. But he was a miserable old and crooked man, though to each man's eye he seemed young and fresh. For, master, this conjurer took the shape of the old man that kept the cross, and that old man was in the likeness of the conjurer. But now, master, wind your horn.
Enter Vernalia, the two brothers, and Erestus.
Welcome, Erestus. Welcome, fair Vernalia. Welcome, Thalea and Calipha both. Now have I her that I so long have sought. So saith fair Delia, if we have your consent.
Valiant Eumenides, thou well deservest to have our favours. So let us rejoice that by thy means we are at liberty. Here may we joy each in other's sight, and this fair lady have her wandering night.
So, master, now you think you have done, but I must have a saying to you. You know you and I were partners, I to have half in all you got.
Why, so thou shalt, Jack.
Why then, master, draw your sword, part your lady. Let me have half of her presently.
Why, I hope, Jack, thou dost but jest. I promised thee half I got, but not half my lady.
But what else, master? Have you not gotten her? Therefore divide her straight. For I will have half. There is no remedy.
Well, ere I will falsify my word unto my friend, take her all. Here, Jack, I'll give her thee.
Nay, neither more nor less, master, but even just half.
Before I will falsify my faith unto my friend, I will divide her. Jack, thou shalt have half.
Be not so cruel unto our sister, gentle knight.
Oh, spare fair Delia. She deserves no death.
Content yourselves. My word is passed to him. Therefore prepare thyself, Delia, for thou must die.
Then farewell, world. Adieu, Eumenides.
And he offers to strike, and the ghost of Jack stays him.
Stay, master. It is sufficient. I've tried your constancy. Do you now remember since you paid for the burying of a poor fellow?
Very well, Jack.
Then, master, thank that good deed for this good turn, and so God be with you all.
And he leaps down into the ground.
Art thou gone, then farewell, Jack. Come, brothers, and my beauteous Delia, Erestus and thy dear Vernalia, we will to Thessaly with joyful hearts.
Agreed.
Yes.
Follow thee and Delia.
And they all exit, except for Frolic, Fantastic, and Madge.
What? Gamma's asleep.
By the mass sun, 'tis almost day, and my window's shut at the cock's crow.
Do you hear, Gammer? Methinks this Jack bore a great sway amongst them.
Oh, man, this was the ghost of the poor man that they kept such a coil to bury. and that makes him to help the wandering knight so much. But come, let us in. We will have a cup of ale and a toast this morning, and so depart.
Then you have not made an end of your tale, Gammer?
Yes, faith. When this was done, I took a piece of cheese and bread, and came my way, and so shall you have too before you go to your breakfast.
And it ends. So maybe there's I don't know what to say. It's lovely that there's
Like
those
it wasn't
absolutes. There's those absolutes there. You've made your promise. Making promises in fairy tales is always dangerous, and it's this thing of gotta cut her in half. No, that was the deal. Gotta cut her in half. Delia doesn't at any point get a say in this.
And that it's the whole bros before hoes. Okay, yeah, okay, dude, bros before hoes.
It's just the way the Delia goes. Oh well, farewell world. And then it's all a bit Abraham and Isaac then with the stopping of the sword.
Yes.
Very disappointing ending. I think it's almost.
I know.
They took the. Sorry. Yeah. Well, where was Huanebango? I see. No, it's just I don't know. I haven't been this disappointing in an ending since I read The Girl on the Train. And they went with the thing that you're all expecting, which is an anticlimax.
Yeah, it was going so well up until this point.
I have to say, Sacrapant's death that's really interesting. It's done as a comedy pastiche, which I really love. The whole again, we got that siren's call, put the thing in your ears, and then he doesn't even notice Sacrapant's dead.
I know.
It's this wonderful bit of comic business. I love that.
But they obviously want to make the most of that head because they bring out on the head. Sorry, I've gone there again. But he wants to bring that back on again. They've got a prop and they want to use it for all it's worth.
That's it. We've run out of plot, but we've got a great prop.
Well, to be fair,
We've got head.
That is a different head, though, isn't it?
Yeah, we've got head, so we're going to give head. Okay.
Yeah. I should point out that I do have to specify YouTube settings for these. So this is definitely not one for children.
Definitely not.
Or at least this discussion isn't. Liza, please bring us to heel.
I would never presume while the party is going on, but one interesting thing that flagged up for me was a potential double. Where the ghost of Jack brings the head of Sacrapant, and it's not specified in the text, but we think the head looks old and bearded, whereas Sacrapant was a young man. And Eumenides says, "Oh no, this can't be him," and Jack says, "Well, he actually stole the likeness of the young man at the crossroads. That's Erestus the werebear."
Yeah. So yes, it's that question of is it played by the same actor? Or is it doubled? What logic there? Because otherwise it's just simply, it was him all along kind of thing. And yes.
Would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for you damn kids.
Yes, it was the watch. It was the Watcher all along. And yeah, it is that thing of it's deliberately untidy. I think that's the point. I think Simon was talking about the disappointment. It is deliberately a mess. I partly because I think the storyteller's fallen asleep.
Yeah. She is unreliable, isn't she? She's meant. I think that's part of. We're meant to feel that she's not. And also, once the play's ended, you've had your couple of hours or however long it takes of entertainment. Something to talk about on the way home is kind of how might it have all turned out.
Yeah, I mean that's something Sascha. In just a second, because Sascha's your opening oration of the story is you're constantly getting it wrong and going, "Oh no, I forgot this bit."
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh no, there's a good bit. No, he was a conjurer, or he was a thing, or he's a thing. It was a thing. Someone telling a joke really badly, and so that's why it's a muddle.
I just love Madge. I think I just love her because I'm wondering though,
at the same time, whether this forgetfulness that she has is actually deliberate to try and keep them reeled in as much as possible. You know how you get in some fairy tales, and Grimm's fairy tales has a particular slant to this as well. They always have a storyteller in the form of an old woman or a wise man who's kind of very mysterious, and Madge is almost like that, only she's got a little bit more pizzazz to her, like unlike some of Grimm's fairy tales. I think she's got a little bit more witchy sass to her, actually. I'm wondering if she's more of a conjurer herself, the way these characters keep coming and going, you know?
There's another reading maybe with the final line as well, because if you kind of take it in isolation, it's like, don't worry about it, the story's not important, have a bit of bread and cheese, it was all a bit of fluff. So I'm wondering if perhaps actually whoever said it earlier kind of nailed it. It's, let's set up this amazing fairy tale and just don't take it too seriously, it's just a story. I don't know if there's something else going on there.
Well, the other thing is that, you know, the suggestion with having some cheese is that it's a dream. That it's all a dream. That she fell asleep before she got into the story at all, and that actually, you know, they almost heard nothing at all. And this is all in her head. And
I'm wondering what's the purpose of that. Is there a greater purpose,
just a
greater intention? Perhaps.
I think it's just an extra level of playfulness of what's real and what's not. You add the dream onto the storytelling, onto the fairy tale, onto the magic. It's just this deliberate mess of genres. And I think looking at it how you perform it today, that deliberate playing with genres is something we should really look into, what we do with it. We've already talked about panto, but there's all sorts of spoofs and film references you could probably throw in, and add modern popular culture references to the ones that already existed then. And I think that's it invites it in a way that other plays don't, and resist messing around with it, because there's so much potential additional comic business with everything that's going on. Every scene is a gag, as well as occasionally just spectacle. I mean, it's doing all the entertainment things.
If I remember correctly, there was a kind of genre of dream prose pieces. I think there was one that was narrated by Tarleton's Ghost. This is around the late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah,
there's
Tarleton's
more than one of
News
them.
Out of Purgatory.
Yes.
But they're very, very baggy and jest booky.
Yes. Or in fact, the matter having an argument with other jest bookies, because we're doing quite a bit with Tarleton at the moment, and we're about to go into News of Purgatory, because those jests are very much having an argument with each other in about proper representation of this deceased celebrity. Yes, Jack.
Hi, I was just wondering, you were talking about the bread and cheese at the end and the possible dream, the reason for dreams or anything else. I've just remembered, would they be eating rye bread in that kind of era?
Good point.
Ergot on the bread, the fungi on the bread, which induces hallucinations.
It's just an ergot.
Hallucinations, actually, yeah.
I think they mention rye in one of the songs, don't they?
Yeah.
One of the songs.
It could be rye bread, so she could be hallucinating and telling these weird fantasies from hallucinations.
So I mean, they say they refused food at the beginning. Maybe there was something that they had.
Well, Madge says something about I took a piece of bread and cheese.
That's right. She did.
So she's taken she's had a trip.
Well, they all could have done, you know, and that's what I mean about the witchy element. How much of this with Madge is deliberate, and how much of it really is the doddery old lady. In fact, it actually reminds me a little bit of another modern reference. If anybody's seen Andrew Lloyd Webber's musical Cats, there's a character in there, one of the cats, what's he called? He's Asparagus, Gus the theatre cat. He mentions in one of the songs at one point where he says, "And I once played Growl Tiger, could do it again." And I'm wondering if at some point maybe Madge had her growl tiger moment in a way, you know, slipped them the cheese and took them on a trip with her, changed into these characters.
I think Madge and Delia would be a really interesting double, that Madge becomes the heroine of her own story.
Yeah, I really can't see them sitting at the side throughout this at all. I see them as being protagonists within it in some fashion, if only for just economy.
Yeah.
Lynsey, because I can't see if you're waving. Any thoughts?
Yes, I mean, I'm broadly agreeing with what everyone has said, and I really enjoyed reading this play. I think it's very funny, and I think there's a lot of, you know, were there to be a production of it, there could be a lot of, you know, modern cultural references as well. And I just wanted to show a bit of love to Venelia, who
yeah,
you know, just you know, delivers the coup de grace and you know, fulfills the prophecy and all the rest of it. You know, with having very, very little otherwise to do. And I just thought that was just very, very funny when she comes on, breaks the glass and blows out the light and go within again.
I have to say, in terms of adapting it for audio, my thinking here is actually that Venelia is potentially an additional narrator for her own story. I quite like the idea of, if you're going to slot in modern dialogue, you know, make sure it's a really nice, clean break. And I quite like doing something with the silent character. I mean, we say she runs across Madge, she could be screaming. We don't know what she's doing at that moment. It could be very...
Yes, I mean, yes, it's very open, that, but I just thought it was just, you know, it was so great that that aspect was given to her to do. I mean, she's fulfilling the prophecy, but it's just yeah, glorious.
Yeah, as messy as this play sometimes is, I think it ties up all the various plot strands very neatly.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it you know, it's juggling ideas and plots, but it is doing this with intent. You know, it's not messy because it's untidy or badly written. It's messy because it's deliberately a series of tangled stories that don't necessarily, you know, that don't have to on the surface run into each other, though surprisingly they do, and they do incredibly well. There's a lot of artistry to looking like there's no artistry. So it's a really good point, Liza. Annalise, any thoughts at this late juncture? We're very much looking to wrap up now because the night draws on apace.
I just really enjoyed the read through, and I really enjoyed, like you said, thinking about its structure and where the jokes are and how it works when you start to do that. I loved Huanebango. I just think it's such a star part, and just the comedy that's generated from, you know, from his inflated sense of self. I just thought that was brilliant, but I really enjoyed it, and I really enjoyed that kind of choose your own adventure kind of style of, you know, of plot. Yeah, I don't have anything much else to add, but I think those Scooby-Doo, choose your own adventure, kind of those kinds of cultural references are perfect for this play.
I was also reminded of The Princess Bride, of course. I think
that me too.
plays on a lot of these tropes. I think, you know, it's very funny.
And it's not taking itself too seriously, and I think that's you know, that's the beauty of it. But I think that's where perhaps some of the crit on the play, they tend to take it more seriously, you know, than it is. And I think and that kind of gets in the way and kind of spoils it, I think, in some respects, because it is just you know, a set of characters and some fairy tale elements that just, they do all really work together.
Yeah. Ruth, any last closing thoughts?
Well, just the ending. I mean, in some ways I was quite disappointed in the ending as well, but I can see what it's doing. It's bringing together all the various kind of star-crossed lovers and getting them, you know, Erestus gets his woman and Eumenides gets his woman, and it's all kind of brought together. And in some ways that's kind of odd when you've had so much undercutting of the whole romance motifs and they're constantly being sent up, and yet it it kind of has its cake and eats it, you know, that people get what they want at the end. And the audience must have gone away very happy.
Mm. I think there is actually a genuine moment of dramatic tension as to, you know, is he going to chop her in half?
Right.
I think you can do something with that.
It is. There definitely is.
And you've got to be fleet of foot to make that work. I think there's and hold on to that moment and really play it with some surprise last minute wait. Because if you're in a fairy tale, you have to follow the fairy tale rules. So you're almost trapped in a nightmare situation there, which I think is possible. Stephen, any final thoughts?
I wonder how many wandering knights there are on the stage.
Yes.
Because casting a certain play, somebody says, well, I'm a wandering knight. Am I a lover of a wandering knight? I think. So it'd be interesting to see. It would be very nice to have. I think, you know, something that gives us a sense of the stereotypes and cliches that this is playing off. It seems to us to be kind of a bunch of cliches, but it could be doing all kinds of smart stuff.
Yes, it's that question. Do the characters always know which genre they're playing as well? And that's following on from your thought. You know, is he a lover? Is he a nut? You know, is it that the characters themselves don't know whether which story they're in?
The bit with the Latin, mea meos meum or something. I mean, it looks like he says something equivalent to "this is a grammatical car crash" in Latin after saying that. So yeah, I wonder about that too.
It would be, I mean, there could be a lot of fun with, you know, people coming on stage and slowly discovering who they are playing.
Yeah, it's like you appear and you've got a costume on, and therefore you play that part. Question.
You can imagine lots of quite literal kind of hat swapping, and part of the fun being them sort of candidly being like, oh, it's this part now and then on, and yeah, just a lot of fun.
Bit like me halfway through going, oh, we need a Delia.
Pretty much, just exactly like that, in fact, but probably with less innuendo.
Yeah. And that's the thing. You're right. Reading it off the page, you appreciate there are some innuendos. Don't appreciate how far they could be taken. Not necessarily they were taken that far, but the potential there. I just never appreciated how much you could do with that scene.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot you have to. I'm assuming that the audience for this was actually incredibly sophisticated. Just thinking about some of the names, like Xanthippe, wasn't there some kind of myth that wasn't she Socrates' wife? And
she was.
Yes, of course she was.
Urine on, piss on Socrates' head, and you wonder whether, with all the kind of imagery of the going to the well, is the world turned upside down? This is women, telling their husbands that they're, just deserve piss on their heads. I don't know how many of those, how much of those illusions are there.
Oh, there's a lot. I think it's full of it. Yeah, Liza.
Xanthippe. I'm so glad you picked up on that. Yeah, she was. I guess it's that the character is shrewish, the shrewish sister, and that Xanthippe was. Although I think before we condemn the historical Xanthippe as a shrew, I think we should try being married to Socrates and see what it did to us.
Yeah, but we'd all piss on his head as well.
We probably would. But there's also Eumenides, which is really interesting because isn't that the Greek name for the Furies? Yeah. And Sacrapant has Furies that work with him. Maybe Eumenides is like Orestes. Maybe he's pursued by the Furies. We don't know.
There's almost a deliberate confusion. Eumenides is chased by the Eumenides effectively at one point. So.
Right. And Sacrapant sounds like, holy pants, a pants.
Yeah, Lynsey, it looks like you were typecast.
To be fair, I think that might be more a dig at Robert Greene. So, because there is a very have we gone silent?
No, can hear you.
Yeah, sorry. That there are possible references to other plays of the time, and in character names and things. So there's a whole there's a whole series of references that are working on different levels, and I think that's the wool in the ears. That's the very Odyssey esque, and so I think yes, it is both silly and also full of layers, which is lovely. I think I've gone through pretty much everybody, or everyone's had a good crack at the whip. Anyone desperate to have a final word? Right. Well, in that case, I'm going to wind up tonight and get this archived before the weekend. And we'll go into housekeeping in just a moment with the team. But for those watching the video, thank you very much and goodbye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.